The fool doesn't know how to prepare and how to plan for the future. And often when I come across somebody that's got the maverick fool archetype, I've got to slow them down. We've got to work on goals. We've got to work on intentions. We've got to work on a plan. We've got to work on their administration. Send those invoices out. What are you doing? What are you doing next? How are you going to grow your business? How are you going to get the money in? You don't just say, I want the money, and the money is there. You actually need to work for it.
Morning. No, it's afternoon now.
Afternoon for us, yes. Good afternoon, Aaron.
It's just afternoon for us. Yeah, so it is afternoon. Afternoon, Ilana. How you doing? Hope your lunch was great.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, we didn't realize we were in different time zones when we had the meeting. So, yeah, thank you.
I just want to say a big thank you to you for accepting our invite to come. We're all keen and looking forward to learning from you. And to everybody, Ilana is based in Zurich, Switzerland. She's a certified mindset money coach. This is not just a certified coach. She's actually a certified mindset money coach, an NLP practitioner, and a happily married mom of 2 young adult children who are now both pursuing their life passions. Ilana is the founder of Mindful Money Coaching. She typically helps women in helping them with their business unblock and helping them unblock their money and increase their magician archetype. She believes we don't have business problems, but personal money issues that show up in our business and work. Ilana utilizes many fascinating tools and exercises in her coaching, and each one is designed to support her clients with the inner work required to understand how their money stories were created. And with this newfound knowledge, they are able to heal, transform their stories, and bring abundance, clarity, and joy into their lives and work. So, and having undergone her own money coaching transformation herself, Ilana is a coach that really walks the talk in every way. She's extremely passionate about her work and her clients and loves nothing more than to go above and beyond in supporting their ongoing transformation. All right, guys, we bring Ilana to you. The next 40 minutes or 35 minutes or 40 minutes, and I'll be back for us to have Q&A, will be very informative. Now, you all have been engaging so far, and I want you to be very engaging with this particular session. We've saved the best for last. Everyone coming today, we've saved the best for last. So please welcome Ilana to the Money Mindset Week, final day.
Aaron, thank you for that, and thank you for having me. I feel very privileged to be part of this wonderful team. And as my friends say, they cannot believe how excited I get about talking about money. It never used to be like that, but it's something that makes me very, very happy. And seeing transformation in anyone, we're really, really happy. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. All right, over to you.
It's a pleasure. I want to explain a little bit about why we do things and where debt comes from and where the poverty is. You know, poverty doesn't know culture, doesn't know religion, it doesn't know race. Poverty can touch anyone. And I know this firsthand. I grew up in South Africa and we were poor. We were poor. My mom was widowed at a very young age, and there's 5 children in our family, and she used to work 2-3 jobs. She struggled. We had hand-down clothing from one another, and I knew that I was different when I went to school. I knew that I was different to the other kids. My mom couldn't pay school fees. She worked in the tuck shop at the school in those days to help to pay, to contribute towards our school fees. And I knew that I was different to the other kids. I knew that I didn't have the money that they had. They were talking about their going on holiday here and there and Disneyland and things that I didn't even know where it was in the world. And I must have made a subconscious decision that one day when I have my own children, my children were going to have a different reality to what I had grown up with. They were going to have everything of the best. I didn't realize the damage I was going to do to them by giving them everything. But my children I've got 2 kids, and my children had private schools. They had the fancy new toys, the designer clothes, the very expensive birthday parties. They had literally everything. It got me, I was working and my husband was working, but it got me into serious amount of debt. I'd come from poverty where there was always debt. It was nothing new for us to get the sheriff of the court coming to my mom's house and my mom saying, oh no, the furniture doesn't belong to me, it belongs to a cousin. So I'd come from poverty. And now I got ourselves into a lot of debt because I was trying to change the history that I had with my children. I was giving them, as I said, everything. Obviously, my husband doesn't have the same history that I have. So we used to fight about money. And this is one of the things I see a lot with couples, is they don't discuss money. Money is something we don't talk about. It got to a stage with my husband that he was really upset with me. He was really angry with me. He couldn't talk to me anymore. He used to write me letters. Can you imagine writing letters to your wife to tell me, for goodness sake, please stop spending? And I used to max out one credit card and then I would get another credit card and max it out because the kids were having everything that I want. I would go in a toy shop and just buy. And I'd buy presents for people. And I didn't know why I was doing this. After being in serious trouble with my husband, somebody suggested that I go for money coaching. And I first resisted it a lot because I took the quiz and I saw that the archetypes that came up, and I will explain about the archetypes. The archetypes that came up were things that I didn't like to be called. Didn't like to be called a victim. Didn't like to be called a martyr. Didn't like to be called the maverick, the fool. I didn't want to be associated with those things. So I put it off again for another long time. And eventually, I couldn't escape my husband. Literally, when the credit card statement used to come, he used to have a complete rant at me and say, the amount on top of the credit card it's a limit. It's not your target. If it says 20 grand, don't spend 20 grand. You've got 1,000 to spend or whatever it was. And literally this was going on. So I went eventually for money coaching. And because, as I said, it's something we don't want to talk about. It's something we don't want to talk and be vulnerable about our financial situation. When I was doing the coaching, and I did it in a group coaching, and this is not the way I work, but I'll explain that later. I realized when our mentor, when our coach was talking about different things, I thought about, I know somebody that's going through that. I know someone who hides shopping. I know somebody that does that. And I started realizing that, gosh, I could actually help these women. I was being helped. And when I say women, I work predominantly with women, but I have done couple coaching as well. And so it's not just women, but predominantly I have worked with women in the past. I realized I could help these women. I realized that I could actually help. They say that your scars become somebody else's healing. My scars, the things that I've been through, could help these people. So I then decided to study further and become a coach. And I learned so much. And this is what I want to share with you today. So just setting the scene, that knowing, yes, I was in debt. I had lots of debt. I'm completely financially free. I make my own times, my own working times, and I'm financially free. I used to have an enormous amount of debt. Explaining how our actions are driven by our emotions. You know, everything we do, 95% of everything that we do is based on emotions. So you're feeling angry, you're feeling upset about something. You go to something that makes you feel better. There's an emotional disconnect that you're trying to fill. So for instance, and I'll give you another example, because it's not only money. Sometimes it's alcohol. You're feeling stressed. It's been a hard week. What do you do on a Friday night? You open up a bottle of wine, and you're not just going to have one glass. You have 2, 3, 4 until the bottle's finished. There's an emotional connection that you're looking for, that you go to the wine. You do the same with food. You're feeling like you're angry or upset, or you don't want food to go to waste, so you eat it and you pound kilos. We do exactly the same with money. My daughter calls it retail therapy. How many of you do retail therapy? You're upset, you're angry, something hasn't worked, a guy's dumped you, and you go and do shopping. You go down the main street and you go and buy things that you don't need. How many of you have got clothes in your wardrobe that have still got the tags on? We do all of this out of emotions, and different emotions lead you to take different action. Now, as Erin said, I don't say we have business problems. I believe we have personal issues we take to work with us, because when you're trying to run a business or when you're trying to do something, if you've got personal issues at the back of your mind, you might be going through a divorce or a separation, or you don't have food for your kids. It's very difficult to concentrate on your business. It's very difficult to say, I'm not going to think about that today, because those thoughts are there. Those are those thoughts that wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, I work with archetypes, and there are 8 different archetypes. And I'm going to go through the different archetypes and explain who they are, their characteristics, and a little bit about them. You will probably feel, the people that are watching this, I do that. I know someone who does that. You will identify with them. Sometimes we can be a combination of different archetypes, so not just the innocent or not just the martyr. We often a combination. And I'm going to go through each one. And if I can think at the time of a case study of somebody that I've worked with, I will mention it. So first of all, the archetypes are were designed in the 1900s by a psychologist and philosopher from Switzerland, believe it or not. I'm in Switzerland, as Erin said. My husband got a job here, so we live in Switzerland. I'm originally from South Africa. I don't know if that came up, I'm not sure. So Carl Jung designed these archetypes, and I'm going to talk to you about the archetypes. The first archetype is the innocent. This I see many, many, many people having this particular archetype. The innocent is the archetype that she has her head or his head in the sand. They don't want to know about bills. They don't want to know about what's going on in their bank account. They spend. They're not worried about tomorrow. They're not thinking about the financial situation. They have a feeling of helpless and hopeless. They trust in. They're hoping that somebody's going to come and rescue them and sort out their finances for them, but they're not taking charge. They're not taking action. They're very anxious. Outside, everything's well and everything's fine, but on the inside, they are freaking out because the finances are not good. They don't know how they're going to send the kids to university, how they're going to have enough money for their pension. They're just feeling stuck. Now, this is a financial subconscious block that the person is having. This can change when you understand it. When you call something what it is, you can do something about it. If you've got no idea that it's even there, you can't do anything about it. So the innocent is, as I said, on the outside, a very happy, lucky type of person, but inside fretting. I get a lot of people that are like this. One of the things I tell them is it's time to take control of your financial situation. Nobody else, it's no one else's problem. It's no one else's fault. You're in the situation you're in, and you need to get out of it. I always say the way you got in is the way you're going to get out. So by understanding how you got into the situation will show you how you're going to get out. Just before I go on to the next archetype, I want to explain something to you. These archetypes come from our behavior. As I said, they come from our behavior. But did you know that from the time you're born up until you're about 10, everything that your parents have done, your parents or grandparents, whoever you lived with, whatever they've done, whatever they've said, whatever they've spoken, their actions become your unconscious beliefs. So you learn things by habit. I'll explain to you how this works. You learn things by habit. You watch your parents and you see them fighting about money. So you grow up with a thought of, oh, money must be something bad. Or you see your parents doing something a certain way, giving all their money to relatives or something. You grow up thinking that that is okay. So your subconscious is based on your patterns, your beliefs, and your behaviors. And all of these you've inherited from your parents and your grandparents. Let me also say that your parents had the best intentions at the time. They did the best that they could do with what they know or what they knew at the time. So there's no blame here. There's no pointing fingers. There's no, I wish I had different parents. But rather to learn from what they've taught you and say, that doesn't serve me anymore. That doesn't work for me. I want my own money, or I want to do things differently. Sometimes parents had a situation where the wife stayed at home with the children and the husband went to work. Nowadays, it's different. Women work as well. Women are equal. But because of our way we were brought up, we might not think that, because we heard our father saying, here's a little bit of money for your wife to go and do the groceries. So she has that, you have that idea that the woman is less than the man. But the woman can have just as much control over her finances as her husband and be equal partners. I coach couples as well that come, and I had a couple the other day, I asked the guy, what does money mean to you? And he said, it's important. I have to earn money. I have to pay for my kids. I have to pay for my rent. And I asked the woman, what does money mean to you? And she said, well, it's not really that important. And I was, why? And she said, well, my mother never worked and I'm not working. I'm at home with the kids. So I said, would you want it to be any different? She said, yes, but I don't know how. And that's the thing. Once we know that we understand that our parents' lives are not our lives, we can do something different. So the next archetype, I hope that's clear about the subconscious and how it all works and how we take on our parents' beliefs and behaviors and patterns. If not, I can explain afterwards in the questions and answers. The next archetype that I would love to talk about is the victim. The victim is somebody that's been betrayed. There's been a divorce, there's been a betrayal of something. Sometimes her husband could have been a gambler or she's a gambler. I hear about clients that tell me about these different things that they have on their phones, which I have got no idea what they're about because I don't gamble, but people do. People are looking for an emotional connection, as I said, so gambling could be something that they do. So the victim's prone to blaming others. The victim is angry, very unforgiving. I always say the key to forgiveness is your key to prosperity, because when you can forgive your parents, or when you can forgive a partner, or when you can forgive yourself, which is most of the time that you think what you have to do, you can then not be the victim. You can then have a different reality. So the victim often lives out self-fulfilling prophecies. They tell themselves things like, and they've heard this all before, it's all come from your past, from your parents. I don't believe I'm good enough. I don't believe I can do this. I don't believe I can make money. This business will never make money. I'm going to work until the day I die. A client told me that the other day and I nearly fell off my chair. Working until the day you die? Do you want that reality? No, you don't want that reality. You want to be able to enjoy life. You want a balance. Erin, you spoke just now about abundance. Working until the day you die is not an abundance. The victim lives out self-fulfilling prophecies, as well as is financially irresponsible. They spend. They don't think about what's going on in their finances, what's going in the household. They're just spending. The victim often is looking for a man, if this is a woman, to come and help them and save them. I always say to my clients, I'm looking out my window, I don't see any man on a white horse coming to save you. A husband, a man, or a woman, if she earns a lot of money, is not a paycheck. It's a partner. You can stop being the victim by understanding where these beliefs and behaviors come from and change your reality. The victim has a lot of anger, a lot of very painful issues. Often when I work with people that are victims, there's a lot of vulnerability. There's a lot of sadness that went on. And I want to tell you, I was all of these so far. The victim, the innocent, and the next one, which I call the mother of all archetypes, men have this and women, is the martyr. The martyr goes over and above to help everybody. The martyr is looking after everybody else but herself or himself. The martyr is very long-suffering. So you might have heard the saying, stop being such a martyr. The martyr puts himself last and is long-suffering. The martyr, when I find clients that are martyrs in business, spoke to a client the other day. She did a painting for somebody. She's an artist. She hasn't sent them an invoice yet. Like, it's, when did you do the painting? December. Okay. Send them the invoice. Charge your worth. Now, the majority of the time, we don't charge our worth. And I'm going to explain to you why. And I'm going to be very vulnerable with you. Yeah, I was a big martyr and I didn't understand why. And through my coaching that I did, I found out that in my subconscious, I was told things from a child that I was playing out and living out as an adult. I was told that I wasn't good enough. I was compared. Why can't you be clever like your cousins? Why can't you get an A on your report like your brother for mathematics? Because I'm dumb at maths, whatever. I was compared. I was told I was not good enough. I was also told every time my mother was angry with me, I'm doing this for you, but you don't deserve it. And I've never, ever thought about it throughout my life until I did the coaching. I was told, you don't deserve this. So therefore, I kept myself very small in my business. I kept myself very small and relied on other people for things that I felt I wasn't good enough to provide and to produce. The martyr is the caretaker. It's so busy looking after everybody else. I've got clients that tell me they're going to people's home, they're interior decorators, they do a job, and then they think the woman wants all these different things. It comes to a lot of money, and she takes off a note. She thinks it's too much. And I say, well, why did she call you? She called you because she asked you to do the job. Why are you taking off a note? Well, maybe I should just charge like a less price for my services. That is being the martyr. That is knowing your worth. One of the exercises I do with my clients is an exercise called I'm Enough. If you tell yourself over and over and over that you're stupid, I'm slow, I can't do this, I'm just not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too ugly, guess what? You're going to start believing it. Everything that is done, if you hear people, you hear how much is put around negativity. You'll ask somebody, how are you? And they go, not bad. How about, I feel good. You ask them anything and everything is wrapped around negativity. How does it make us feel? It doesn't make us feel good. And that is the martyr. The martyr needs to know her worth. She needs to know that she deserves abundance. Abundance is our birthright. It's not just for, as I said, a particular race, a particular culture, a particular religion. It's for all of us. We all deserve it. So the martyr needs to learn to heal, like I had to, from what I was being told, to know that I'm good enough, to know that I'm clever enough, and to be able to go with confidence into business and into life. The next archetype is the creative artist. The creative artist she's very spiritual, or he's very spiritual. These are the yogi instructors, the teachers, the people that are helping other people, the ones that are artists or sculptors or have a creative side to them. They find it very difficult to connect the material world with their spiritual world. A lot of them become artists because they think, well, I'm not good at doing something else. Or if they are brilliant artists, they don't show their work off. I've got clients who've got beautiful, beautiful paintings. And I say, well, when last did you do an exhibition? Oh, no, I'm not good enough to do an exhibition. So they find it very difficult to live in the material world. Now, hello, we are living in a material world. Things are happening, transactions are happening around us all the time. As I tell my clients, there is more than enough. There is more than enough money. What happens when the government runs out of money? They print more. There is enough money. The difference between you and somebody else having that money is mindset. It's about the way you feel about yourself. So the creative artist needs to learn that they can charge their worth. They can survive in an artistic world. Often the creative artist is also somebody that's got a very creative way of coming up with solutions. I've got a very high creative artist, and I cannot paint for toffees. I cannot draw for toffees either. But I can come up with solutions. When it was the Corona time and one of my clients came to me and told me, how am I going to make money over this time? I gave her 10 different ideas that she could do, 10 different ideas that she could become. She could make money still while her shop was closed. So the creative artist isn't somebody with a paintbrush in the hand and painting their hair. It's somebody who comes up with creative ideas. By understanding your worth, by understanding your strengths, you're then able to make money. You're able to make abundance. You're able to make prosperity. And there's no sin in that. I believe the more, so I read a book once a very, very long time ago that said, if you aim to earn anything under $1 million, this guy, it was an American book, and the name doesn't come to me now, but if it does, I'll put it in the chat. You're selfish. Why are you selfish? Sounds more greedy. Because when you have got a lot of money, you can help other people. You can give, you can bless people. You can help. Just because you want to be wealthy, people ask me a lot. Sometimes my clients say to me, do you have debt? And I say no. And they say, are you wealthy? And I say yes. But there's no Porsche outside my house. There isn't even a car outside my house because I don't need a car. It's what you do with the money. Are you saving for your pension? Are you putting your children through university? What are you doing with your money? Are you blessing other people? Do you know people that are struggling? Can you help them? Can you help send some children to school that can't go to school? So there's no sin in having money. It's a blessing. The next archetype is the tyrant. The tyrant, when I was called a tyrant, I was so embarrassed. I was like, I don't want anything to do with this money coaching stuff. I don't want to be called a tyrant. And I've actually changed the name to ruler in my quiz but I want to explain to you how harsh the characteristics are. What this person does and the characteristics is they're very, very manipulative. They're rigid, they're very controlling. They use people like pawns on a chessboard. Now, I used to do this. I used to manipulate my husband. I used to manipulate one credit card, take from that credit card to put into that one so that I could spend on a credit card. You're very judgmental. I was very judgmental. I compared myself. I was prone to anger because I never had money growing up, and it was, why didn't I have this childhood like I wanted? And I was highly materialistic. As I said, bought my kids all the designer stuff, all the expensive things, because I was trying to keep up an appearance. I was trying to keep up something that I never had growing up. So the people that I see that come to me with this archetype, and believe it or not, somebody once said to me, is this more of a man characteristic? Do I look like a man? I had every single one of these. I was very manipulative, very controlling. I was always upset when I saw the neighbors were painting their house. Why couldn't we paint our house? The neighbors were putting in a swimming pool. Where's our swimming pool? Why do they? I could never understand. And what had happened? I got angry. That's no way to live. Understanding where it comes from and understanding is the first thing you do, and then you can change it. The next one is the warrior. And I say this with a softer voice, I've just heard myself say. We all need to be the warrior. We need to be able to run our lives and our business like the warrior. The warrior is very fluid. Money comes in. He believes or she believes in the universe. The universe is like her great aunt or somebody that really cares about you. And you just know that when they see you, they're going to have something nice for you. There's an abundance, and the warrior has this abundance. That aunt or whoever you think is your universe or the universe, the law of attraction. I work a lot with the law of attraction. The universe gives you all these things, makes you fluid, loyal, wise. You know about money. You know how to deal with money. You know how to run a business. You know that there's different assets and different sides of the business that you need to do. It's not just about the coaching or the marketing. There's a whole lot of stuff. There's admin. There's your clients that you need to nurture. There's a whole aspect of the business, and the warrior has got that sorted out. We all want to have high warrior scores. And whoever takes my quiz after this, there's a free quiz to go and do. Whoever takes my quiz, if your warrior score is not in the 70s, 80s, there's work to be done. You need to learn how business works. So that is what the warrior does. The warrior is very generous, very discerning, but not overly generous. So when I say generous, you give, but when you give, you receive. It's a flow. The last archetype is the magician. The magician is with the hero or with the warrior is the one that we all want to be. She finds or he finds opportunities. They know how to see an opportunity and go for it, not sit in the office and complain that I haven't done any deals this week, not sit at home and say I don't have any money for groceries. They find opportunities. They are very wise, very optimistic. I had a young girl who came to me about 3-4 years ago from Kenya. She went to the UK to go and study. She thought she was going to go to university. She'd finished school in Kenya. And they said to her, your studies that you've done is not even the same as our, I think it's GSEs or whatever, I don't know the British system. You need to actually go back and do grade 11 and grade 12 over. She went and she did it. She struggled so hard with the accents of these British people, of the teachers. She literally had her phone. She would put her phone down and tape her teacher and go home and sit and listen what the lesson was about. She spent hours doing homework. She passed grade 11 and grade 12 and went on to university and became an accountant. She worked for KPMG in the UK. She came to me and she said to me, I know that my history, my background has affected me. And this girl grew up poor. I mean, I thought I grew up poor. She told me some things. She said to me, Ilana, help me to be a magician. I want to be a magician. I want to find opportunities. This girl is now living in the States and is actually a speaker on a platform with a whole lot of guys that have done TEDx talks, and she actually coaches. A lot of the people that I've worked with have become coaches. So anyone can become a magician. You don't need to think, well, it's not my birthright, I don't have this, I lack this. Anyone can become a magician. The magician knows how to transform something that's not working into something that's working really, really well. This girl actually, while she was working for KPMG, her company sent her to Germany to go and do 2 weeks in Germany. And she was living in London in an apartment. And they told her, we'll take you to Germany, we'll pay your expenses, we'll pay everything, we'll give you a salary. She phoned me and she said to me, Lana, guess what? There's somebody at my work that's looking for an apartment for a friend for the time when I'm away. They actually want my apartment for a month. I'm going to rent my apartment out to them. I said, girl, you're speaking and talking like a magician. She rented out her place. They actually took her place for a month. And she stayed 2 weeks with a friend of hers in Germany. And she made a whole lot of money. She learned how to see opportunities and take them. And she's doing more and more and more of it. And anybody can do it. Anybody can change their reality. Anybody can change how they see things. The last archetype that I didn't cover, that I haven't covered yet, sorry, is the fool, is the maverick. This person, the glass is always overflowing. You ever speak to someone, you say, how things going? Oh, it's fantastic, it's wonderful. Inside they're fretting. They don't plan for the future. I always say the fool, the maverick, plans for Saturday night as opposed to planning for the next generation. This was something new to me, how you plan for the next generation and the generation thereafter. I grew up very much survival, that it's about today. There was no way. It's about learning about how to prepare and plan for the next generation. The fool spends today, literally spends money and doesn't realize that there's a tomorrow. That, and I've got a B, yeah, that's buzzing. Apparently a B means money, so I'm talking about money. The spiritual symbol of the bee. The fool doesn't know how to prepare and how to plan for the future. And often when I come across somebody that's got the maverick fool archetype, I've got to slow them down. We've got to work on goals. We've got to work on intentions. We've got to work on a plan. We've got to work on their administration. Send those invoices out. What are you doing? What are you doing next? How are you going to grow your business? How are you going to get the money in? You don't just say, I want the money, and the money is there. You actually need to work for it. When we put all these archetypes together, I often think of these archetypes, what drives our behavior. So think of a car and think of who do you want in the front seat to be driving the car, to go where you want to go? Who do you want in the back seat? In the front seat, we want the magician and we want the hero, the warrior. Okay, I call him both. In the back seat, you want the creative artist that can help you to create things, to come up with ideas. In the boot, in the trunk, whatever you call it, put the fool, put the innocent, put the victim, and put the martyr, and shut it and lock it. I hope this has made sense. I hope you understand a little bit more about the archetypes, how these drive our behavior, how our behavior drives us to take the action that we do. And I'd like to, if there's any questions or anybody wants to know anything, I'm happy to answer. I hope that was useful.
Hi, Ilana. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is about to get really interesting. Let me thank you for that presentation. Well, someone says this is amazing, good stuff. But first, let me start. And I'm sure you've got this response from people. I just want you to. So a lot of the people in my, how do I put it now? A lot of the people potentially on this group are extremely cautious people. Come from a very religious mindset. So when they start hearing words like magician and all that, I'm sure you've gotten this, they're going to go, oh, this is woo-woo and things like that. So how do you disabuse them that this is not some new age, but this is just fact? So let me hear how you, if you can speak to that before we get into the detail of what you've just really shared, which is eye-opening. Go on.
Erin, it's just a word. It's just a word. We can call it whatever. But I believe that when you have money, you can make magic. You can make things happen. I'm not talking about crazy magic, the negative connotation. You can call it whatever, but literally it can change your life. This girl that came to me and he said to me, Lana, show me how to be a magician. She is making thousands of dollars in the States. Okay.
All right. So we're going to use me. So before we invited you, I actually did the test on your site.
Oh, cool.
And so let's have a live scenario. So the archetype hero had an ideal target 80%. So if you could explain So this helps you explain the different archetypes again for people, and then so that people can see what's really happening here. So you had an ideal target for 80%, but my score was 75%, so 5% short. What does that mean?
There's not a lot of work that you need to do. A lot of the time, you know these things, but it could be sometimes, as I said before, unforgiveness. Things have happened and there's a bit of anger. You don't even realize it's there. I never realized how angry I was. I never realized how my anger was hurting me. I never realized how I was keeping myself so stuck because I was afraid. And the reason why are we afraid? Why don't we do certain things? Because of fear.
Okay.
So if you've got a 75%, that's fantastic. That's beautiful. I'm not saying you have to have 80%. The closer you have to it, yes, I get people with 30%, 14%.
Okay.
There's a lot of work to be done there. There's hidden subconscious money blocks.
Oh, wow.
When someone has got such a low archetype, when someone has got, Erin, what you're doing now is showing me that, putting this together, you take something and you make it happen. That is the magician.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we'll come to that. For those of you who are hating me, just listen. Just kidding. So when I read it, obviously I hadn't heard how you've explained it. So initially when I did the test and it scored me 75% over 80%, the Nigerian in me was like, no, why am I not 80%? Why am I not at the top? What's going on?
Because you haven't worked with me yet. That's why.
All right. So the second archetype for me was artist. And the ideal target was 40%. And I was 43%. Could you explain what the artist is again and what
you come up with ideas? You're creative in finding solutions. People have got very much sometimes where they can't think of something. They can't do something. Fear controls them and it keeps them stuck.
Okay.
They procrastinate. They think, oh, if I'm going to put this talk together, if I'm going to do this, it's going to take too much of my time, too much of my effort. I need to be doing something else.
Yep. Okay, cool. So that's
your archetype, Erin.
Yeah, don't mind them, but they'll find out. They'll find out in a bit. So 43% means I'm doing well above what was the ideal target. Okay, Brilliant. Good stuff. Now, ruler was another archetype, and the target score was 20%, and I was scoring 39% for that.
That's not really high.
Okay.
With the ruler wants to control things.
Yeah, and I do.
And that's why yours is higher. They want to control things. They want to do things. I used to be like that. I controlled the credit cards. I used to say, I took from Peter to pay Paul.
So you say that's not really high in terms of testing. So
when I saw that, 70%.
So 60s and all that is so it's not as bad as I thought it was then. Because when I saw it, the ideal target is 20% and I'm at 39%. I was thinking, wow, 19%. Does that show that I'm a control freak? I like to control things, but not as a control freak. Okay, but I've got the tendencies.
The tendencies are there. The tendencies are there, and sometimes what I often find with people is a lot of secrecy. So sometimes it's not. There's separate bank accounts. There's shopping that's going on that the partner doesn't know about. There's numerous things that's kind of happening. But we all do these things out of fear. We all do or not do stuff because of how we're feeling at the time or how it makes us feel. Okay. It takes guts to do what you're doing.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Tina, people are asking for the link. If someone can just post the link for the people for them to take this test. All right. The next one was innocent. So if you can remind me what the archetype for that again was, innocent. The ideal target score was 20%. Mine came up as 18%. I would not have
innocent then. You don't have your head in the sand. You know what you're doing with your finances. You're in control of what is going in, what is coming out. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people don't have that. They have very, very much anger and frustration. And I find the people with the innocent, whenever they have a high innocence score, I say to them, do you lie awake at night and worry about the money? They say, of course. It's like, of course. And that's what the innocent is about. I was innocent. I used to wake up 2 o'clock in the morning and think, my gosh, that credit card statement better not come. My husband's going to go mad. Or how am I going to pay these things? How am I going to pay it without him knowing?
All right, cool. So the next one was Maverick. It had an ideal target for 20%, and I had a score of 64%.
Say that again. Sorry, I missed that. Say that again.
The Maverick ideal target was 20%, and I had a score of 64% in that one.
Okay. It means you're very adventurous.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You think very much and live in the moment, very much in the enjoyment for today.
Mm-hmm.
You quite indulgent.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be very careful with that because there could be an undiscipline towards money. In other words, money is not just to be thought about for now, to pay the bills now. How am I going to get through this month? Money is long-term. Money is for long-term. And it's quite interesting, Erin. I'll share something personal. My daughter, I've got older kids, and my daughter was dating this boy whose grandparents and great-grandparents had set up a trust fund for him to go to university. This boy did his undergrad, he did his master's, and he also actually did his PhD. His parents, as I said, his grandparents and great-grandparents had set up a trust fund for him. And I remember speaking to my daughter, and then saying, the parents have sorted this for him, and the parents have got this properties that this is his and his brothers, and this other ones is the other brothers and whatever. And I was thinking, wow. I've been brought up living hand to mouth, day to day, not thinking about the next generation. It had never, ever occurred to me. And it was such an eye-opener that I thought, what am I doing for the next generation, to get your kids on the ladder to be able to buy property or to go and study? So the Fool and the Maverick, it's the same archetype. I just changed the name because I don't like to be called a fool, because I was big fool. Is very living for the moment, living for today, living for now, enjoying. But things can change, a situation can change. You can lose a job. You can become ill. If you do not plan for the future and you do not take the necessary steps, you could get yourself into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's put this on because of time. So we've got the next one was Victim, and it had 10% ideal target, and I had a 14%.
14 is nothing. 14 is nothing.
Okay. Right, 14. And this is what everybody wants to know. So the Magician had an ideal target for 80%, and I was scoring 89%.
There you go. You find the opportunities and you go for it. Okay. And that is wonderful. The Magician will find money when other people will leave the money on the table, you won't.
Yep. I follow the money. I always follow the money.
And there's no sin in that. There's no sin in that. You think about it, there's plenty of money. What is money? Money is an energy. When you block the flow of money into your life, it's your decision to do that, subconsciously or consciously.
Good stuff. So I'm scoring well with the Magician.
You're scoring well.
You're scoring well. I think this one I was going to feel bad about, but I'll wait to hear you. So the next one was the Martyr. Ideal target. Martyr, yeah. The ideal target was 20%, and I was scoring 46%.
Have you got children?
Yep.
You're looking after other people. You're looking after other people's needs. It just means it's not a bad thing. 40, it's not a bad score. You're not, you're looking after somebody else. You're not,
I know what it is.
I don't know your past. I don't know your past. I know
what it is. I actually, you explain it that way. I know what it is. I clearly understand. So my wife had a brain aneurysm, and so I'm very particular about my wife and all that. So that's I know where that's coming from. Okay, cool. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Now, what are the ways that people can begin to overcome maybe negative? I mean, it's good to hear this now, and I feel good about myself. That all the work I've been doing on myself and things. I'm not sure what I would have been before, but it's good to know that all the work I've been doing on myself, just doing a test, is revealing to me that, hey, just keep working, keep doing, keep putting it out there, keep putting the value out there. So it's a great test. It's a great test. I like I like that. I follow the money. It's true. I do follow the money. All right. Okay. And I'm also caring, guys. So it's not just the money. So what are the ways that people can begin to overcome their archetypes?
There's deep work to be done. It's very difficult to just do it completely by yourself. One of my clients said to me, I read books, I did online courses, I did so many things, and it was only until I had somebody to support me and have a coach that took me through why I was doing and explained to me and helped me find my purpose in life, did she actually have the healing. So work with a coach, work with a mentor. Doesn't have to be me. Work with someone if these are coming up for you, because they will stop you from living the life that you can live.
That's good. So can our significant other, so a wife, their archetype, can that affect us? And I mean, well, first, can that affect us? So I've got this whole magician thing. Let's say not my wife, but I'm not sure what her types are. And if she was however way, whatever, if everything about hers was negative, would that affect me?
It would affect you to a certain extent, because you've got to now work a lot harder.
Yeah.
You've got to work a lot harder, and you could have anger that builds up, for instance, if she was wasted like I was. You could, in a relationship, of course, you are then affected by what your partner is doing. The crazy thing with relationships is that I find that people, they're so in love, they meet, they never talk about money. It's one of the things they never talk about. They'll talk about what dining room table they want or whatever, but they will not talk about money. He will have assume that this is what's going to happen. Oh, we're going to have 2 salaries when we get married. That is so cool. Got my wife helping me. We're going to buy this bigger house. She's like, I'm going to get married and I'm going back to studying, or I'm going to have babies. And they never talk about it. And all of a sudden, there isn't that salary there. And then the fighting starts. And then the misunderstandings. But you never told me, or you never asked.
Wow. All right, cool. So, wow, that's really. So what can then the individual, the other partner, begin to do about this then? Obviously, there's the awareness stage, there's the discovery, and then obviously there has to be some kind of action. So would that be the same answer? I mean, obviously seek a coach and actually actively work on that, right?
One of the things I suggest to the people I work with is to journal how you're feeling. So when you go out and spend, why are you spending? What subconscious, unconscious behavior is wrapped into that? I had a client who every day on her way home, she's in the UK, every day on her way home from work, she stopped and she would buy herself something. And I said, what are you rewarding yourself for? And she said, I never realized I was rewarding myself. I said, well, tell me about your job. And she started speaking about it, and she was miserably unhappy. So she was looking to satisfy herself after this really horrible day that she was having. Journal when you write, when you're spending money. Find out what you're spending your money on. What are you doing? What decisions are driving you to do the action?
So flip that. What about where you have a partner who is not spending or does not even spend on themselves, you almost have to push that partner to buy stuff for themselves or to do something for themselves? How does that, so it's not the spending now, it's the other the opposite. So what is that saying? Especially if it was someone like me with a maverick or, with a magician tendency, yeah.
You'll probably find that person has got very much the martyr archetype. So they don't know how to self-care. They don't know how to put themselves first. They don't know how to actually enjoy life and take care of themselves. I've got a client in America that I'm working with. She's got so much money. And I said to her, you're not taking it with you when you die. Use a little bit of it. Do something for yourself. Buy yourself fresh flowers for your office once a week. I'm not saying blow 10,000. I'm saying small stuff, because when you learn to control the small steps, the small spending, you can control the bigger spending. But you need to learn to look after yourself. No one else is going to look after you. So often when I see people that don't, that also comes from, Aaron, a poverty scarcity mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have clients, I have clients who will tell me they've never bought themselves anything. They've never spent money on themselves. They can't make a decision in a shop which dress to buy. That comes from a scarcity mentality because they grew up without. Now they've got the money and they are afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a client recently. I'm just not going to mention her name here now. I have a client. I'd have loved to actually. I have a client recently where during one of the coaching sessions, I said I was trying to challenge her to why you should have money and things like that. I said no, but I'm comfortable. Absolutely had no desire to want more money or things like that. And I said, you really do have a poor money mindset. And it was a bit of she didn't argue. She just said, but she's fine. So what do you do to such people? It's clear that they do have a poor money mindset. They don't want more. They don't desire more. So especially for people from a spiritual and even cultural background, there's that thing that makes us feel that maybe as Christians and things like that, we should not desire to want more money. While for me, anyone who doesn't desire to have money is not living the abundant life that Christ died for us in the first place. That's how I read my Bible. But yeah, go on. You were going to say something.
There's two things. First of all, sometimes they don't feel that they deserve it. The second thing is they don't realize that money, as I said, I used to have debt. I don't have debt. I'm financially free. I don't have a Porsche outside. But I've got a son who's going to do his master's in the UK. I've been able to help him. So money can give you options and opportunities. It gives you choices. You can do things when you've got money. When you don't have money, you're living from paycheck to paycheck. And as a lot of my clients say to me, the check runs out before the month end. There's more money than money.
Yeah.
So money doesn't necessarily, it's not a negative thing. It's got nothing. You can bless other people with it. When you are in a situation that you can bless people, that you can, as I mentioned earlier, help children go to school.
Yeah, good stuff.
Help families that are struggling, somebody that's lost a job or somebody that's not well. If you can be able to do that because you have the money, that is a blessing.
Oh, that's good stuff. What are the first 3 steps one can begin to take? Because a lot of this programming starts from childhood. Even birth, even the whole process of birth in itself is trauma that actually begins to affect the programming of children. These are real deep things that people don't know and how they grew up and things like that. So a lot of it happens in childhood, like you and I know. So what's the first 3 things that somebody who's listening to us right now can actually start to take today before they get the opportunity of speaking to a coach like me or you or anything, and start to intentionally start overcoming this programming?
Aaron, first of all, to realize and to accept that there could be a problem.
Yeah.
To talk to somebody about it. You're not alone. You don't have to be alone. There's always people that can help you to a certain degree. And to do something about it, take action. Fear can paralyze you. The opposite of fear is, I'm sure that's where Nike got their slogan from, is just do it.
Just do it. Yeah, do it afraid.
Exactly. And I think to be aware that there is a problem and look for help. There's a lot of people that, and sometimes just talking about it, talking with a friend or accountability partner can help you to set goals that you need to set, to help you to overcome the things that you're going through. If you know you've got a weakness for something, talk about it with somebody. If it's not a coach or mentor, it could be your partner or your best friend.
I think it's more of the role of a coach, because a lot of people actually find it difficult to accept the awareness that there may be a problem, because the awareness is one, and then the bit is actually them recognizing and taking action. So a lot of people fights to defend where they're coming from, fights to defend the lack, fights to defend the fact that nothing is wrong with me, fights to defend the fact that I just don't feel like buying anything. And when people like you and I are listening to them, you can hear their limiting beliefs and you can hear the programming, but there's that blocker that makes them not being able to see it. So really, I would say they need help. They need to actually seek help.
Aaron, it's also got to be the right timing. It's all about the right timing, because people are ready at different times in their lives. It gets to a stage. I was told about money coaching 2 years before I did it. I wasn't ready for it, but it got to a point where I was like, you sometimes hit rock bottom. And when you hit rock bottom, that's when you realize I can't go any further, I can only go up. And I always say, don't deprive somebody of their rock bottom, because that's where they make their best decisions. I also think that the mistakes, sorry.
I'm not knocking what you're saying now, but sometimes rock bottom can come with some real consequences.
Yes.
Yeah. So must everybody have to hit rock bottom before you accept an awareness to change?
Hopefully not, but I had to. I had to, because I'm stubborn as anything. So, I was doing a job, 2-3 jobs at a time that I hated. I was repeating exactly the patterns of my mother until I realized I cannot do this anymore. I cannot do this job that I'm doing. I hate it so much. The hours, everything about it. I was going to go and get help.
Oh, yeah.
I also think that mistakes, Aaron, the mistakes that you make are not mistakes. They're nuggets, they're learning tools. I always think to myself, if you take each mistake you made and you pile them on top of each other, you could actually use it as a ladder to climb up from where you've been.
So when I hear that, that's somebody with an awareness. That's someone who's actually leaning into their mistakes. I mean, such a person, if you're able to learn through your mistakes, at least you have some bits of awareness, because mistakes are just learning. That's learning opportunities. Yeah, but some of these people don't even know that, don't recognize that something is wrong, because the programming is so deep entrenched, right? And you experience those things so deeply entrenched that they just think that, what Carl Jung says, an unexamined life is not worth living. So people don't take the time to actually examine their life, right? An unexamined life is not worth living. You love the quote, right? And then they will call it fate.
I love Carl Jung. His place is just down the road from me.
Oh, wow, really?
It's been one of my dreams to go and do a course there over the summer, to do a one of the courses, because there's quite a lot. Obviously, there's teachings and things there.
Yeah, Carl Jung is amazing. It's one of every quote of his. I take time to meditate on his quotes, and it just, because he says an unexamined life is not worth living. And you would continue living that life and you think that this is fate. This is what was created for you. All right, because of time, and I think my next guest is ready. There are people, and I found even in my coaching, that they actually do have a guilt of wanting to be wealthy. How can they overcome this guilt?
If they realize that the money is, as I said before, for the next generation and the generation after, it's to make themselves independent so that they don't rely on anybody else. My mother told us as children, I've got 5 children, and that's what I brought you into the world, so you can look after me one day. That puts a lot of pressure and a lot of unnecessary pressure, financial pressure on somebody. You're trying to do things, you're trying to survive, you're trying to grow your family and their finances. But what are you doing? You're having to look after somebody else. So get your finances in order. Get your finances in order so that you can bless people around you, that you're a blessing and not a burden.
Wow. Ilana, this has been such an amazing last 1 hour. Everybody, if you felt the same way, if you think that this has been a great eye-opener, I want you to just send your appreciation quickly to Ilana. Let's tell her we appreciate how much she's invested in this to come share with us. Everybody, go on, let's show her some love. She literally has delivered a lot of us, you know. I was going to ask a lot more questions, but I'm sure my next speaker is already in the studio. So I'm just going to wait. Let's return back to you. Let's give you back some appreciation. Everybody, can we just appreciate Ilana? If you've really been blessed by this session, she's given a lot of her time and from her abundance. Yep. Thanks, Ilana. Thank you so much. I mean, so many of you would see life differently. Go to her website. We've put on the link. Go to her website and take this test. And she will give you will get an opportunity, because I mean, I was supposed to attend one of a meeting with you, but I couldn't because I had surgery. You will get the opportunity to analyze yourself in this same way we've just done.